Developing right now on Morning News Now, deal or no deal. This morning, a potential peace agreement between the U.S. and Iran now under review that would extend a fragile ceasefire and reopen the critical Strait of Hormuz. A senior Arab official directly involved in talks telling NBC News the deal still needs final approval from top leadership in Tehran, as well as President Trump, with several key issues still unresolved.
We're making some progress. Hopefully we'll continue to make progress. The president will be in a position where he can endorse the agreement, but obviously that's still TBD.
We'll have the latest from the Middle East. Also this morning, under investigation, the Justice Department opening a criminal probe over how legal bills were paid in E. Jean Carroll's sexual abuse lawsuit against President Trump. Meanwhile, the Treasury Department unveiling plans for a $250 bill with the president's face on it. We'll take you to Washington. Plus, a new warning from doctors after a startling spike in overdoses from popular weight loss drugs. And it's a bucket list for bookworms. We will talk to our friends at the New York Times about a fun reading challenge just in time for summer. You're going to love this. It's going to give you a little inspiration for how to spend your beach time.
It's not a list of books, but a list to help guide you to the right book for you.
Kind of like a little bingo.
Yeah, on this Friday morning, good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Yeah, great news. We made it to Friday. We're going to begin this morning with that potential breakthrough in efforts to extend that fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. A senior Arab official directly involved in the talks told NBC News that both sides agreed to the terms of the deal days ago, but have delayed finalizing and announcing it. The proposal is said to be awaiting approval from President Trump and Iranian leaders. Two U.S. officials say the president is reviewing it.
Any deal would be a significant diplomatic moment in a war that has dragged on for 3 months now, but questions remain over whether it will actually resolve the key issues, like Iran's nuclear ambitions. Speaking yesterday, Vice President J.D. Vance was optimistic about an agreement, but said a few details still needed to be ironed out.
I think it's hard to say exactly when or if the president's going to sign the MOU. We're going back and forth on a couple of language points. I do think that we've made a lot of progress here. It's very clear that I think the Iranians, they want a deal, and they want to open the Straits of Hormuz. We want them to open the Straits of Hormuz. There are a couple of issues on the nuclear stuff, the highly enriched stockpile, and also the question of enrichment.
NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest. So, Matt, another twist in this ongoing saga here. First, tell us a bit more about what we're learning from this senior Arab official and why they say the final announcement is being delayed by both sides.
Yeah, well, this senior Arab official told NBC News that these continuing talks were frustrating, that was the word he used, and that there's a game of chicken and egg being played by the negotiators. It sounds as though, as you heard, that a deal was arrived at several days ago and that both sides went back to their home countries, starting with the Iranians, then the Americans, and both are now waiting for some sort of sign-off. Even as there are still some quibbles over the details, as we heard from Vice President J.D. Vance. Now, the New York Times has quoted an Iranian official who was close to the negotiations, giving a broader sense of what this deal looks like. And it looks as though a lot of the questions that we just heard from the Vice President that are still under negotiation may, in this memorandum of understanding that the U.S. would be submitting to the Iranians as the deal, to end the fighting, that those may be kicked down the road, maybe 30 days or 60 days for further negotiation. So that could essentially mean that all of the thorniest issues around the fighting between the U.S. and Israel and Iran and over the Strait of Hormuz, the nuclear weapons, the highly enriched uranium that Iran is still thought to have an enormous amount of, all of this would be delayed for further talks, which are unlikely to go any more smoothly than the ones we're seeing now.
Matt, Iranian media released a draft of the reported deal. What do they say the terms of this agreement are? Tell us more.
Yeah, well, the White House has already roundly said that this was fake news, that this draft is incorrect. And if it were correct, it would represent a pretty big capitulation on the part of the United States. It contained, as part of this draft deal that, again, the White House has totally rejected, some provisions for, like I mentioned, pushing some of those major issues like nuclear enrichment and the fate of Iran's already highly enriched nuclear uranium down the road for a couple more months. But it also also included language that said that the United States had agreed to withdraw its troops from nearby bases in the region. Those sorts of things seem very unlikely and were probably one of the reasons why the White House so strongly rejected this draft. What we've heard from the New York Times in just the past day or two with more details about this deal, that would be something a little more realistic in terms of all the sides agreeing on it. But again, it kind of ignores the thorniest issues and just says we're going to wait to talk about them later.
And Matt, we also want to ask you about what's happening closer to you. Yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he directed his military to seize 70% of Gaza, extending what it already controls. But this move would be in violation of the agreement President Trump helped broker last year. So what's been the reaction, and just what does this mean for the ceasefire there?
Yeah, it's a really troubling development. Benjamin Netanyahu essentially saying that the Israelis are going to be unilaterally expanding the areas of the Gaza Strip that they control, areas that were very much part of an agreement that ended the fighting in Gaza. So that looks like a major violation. Now, the Israelis have complained that Hamas is the one who is routinely violating the terms of the ceasefire. Palestinian officials, including Hamas, lay the blame squarely on Israel and say that nearly 1,000 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip have been killed since the ceasefire came into effect in the autumn of last year. Now, regardless of who you believe, this is not good news for the ceasefire, and it's also a really instructive example, Joe, of what happens when we talk about temporary arrangements where the hard issues are pushed further down the line and they don't ever get resolved. It's been well more than 6 months since there was this ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, and we're seeing the same kind of talk coming out of these talks with Iran, where the biggest issues like disarmament for Hamas is still a major thorny question. Where these don't get resolved, what is impermanent eventually becomes permanent.
All right, Matt Bradley in Tel Aviv. Matt, thank you.
Well, in Washington, the Trump administration is continuing to come up with new ideas for the celebration of America's 250th anniversary, including a controversial new piece of currency.
Yesterday, the Treasury Department unveiled a design for a $250 banknote honoring the milestone birthday, complete with President Trump's face on it. But under current law, no living person can appear on U.S. currency. Printing a bill that bears the president's portrait would require an act of Congress.
NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen joins us on this morning. John, good morning. So what would need to happen for this $250 bill to become a reality?
Well, in theory, at least, Congress would have to sign off on it. There are a number of potential vehicles for Congress to stick that into to try to get it done. Potentially, they could do it with the reconciliation bill that they've been looking at, potentially future appropriations bills. But President Trump has not always been bound by what Congress says he can and can't do. And so I think there's an open question as to whether the Treasury Department, look, you see the secretary, they're holding up the bill with the big smile as though the Treasury Department just received trillions and trillions of dollars to help pay off debt. Instead, just holding up that picture of President Trump. We'll have to see if they try to move unilaterally to do this.
John, let's switch gears here. The L.A. mayoral race getting a ton of national attention this year. And one reason, one of the candidates, certainly not a career politician, but he's making a lot of noise. In an interview with NBC News, he just told us he doesn't need anyone's endorsement, despite receiving President Trump's endorsement. So let's talk about Spencer Pratt.
Yeah, the good news for Spencer Pratt, the former reality TV star who's running in L.A. as a Republican to try to win the mayoralty. A couple pieces of good news. Number one, there are multiple candidates there. It's Karen Bass is the Democratic incumbent, but there's also a socialist city council member who's running. So it's possible that he could get into a general election situation in California. They have what's called a jungle primary, where the top two finishers end up in the general election regardless of party. And the second piece of good news for Pratt is the president has now told all the Republicans in Los Angeles that for sure that he wants them to vote for Pratt. But of course, Pratt is also looking for Democrats, heavily Democratic city. Let's hear what he had to say about it.
My race is a local race. I don't care what's going on in the national politics in other states. I am running for local positions. I don't need anyone's endorsement but mothers. That's who's getting me elected.
He doesn't need anyone's endorsement, but obviously President Trump has made it clear who the president wants.
John, never too early to talk 2028, right? I hope you feel that way anyway, because we're going to do it no matter what. We got a little news here yesterday as we kind of watched this list of who may be in the running. Gretchen Whitmer, she's the governor of Michigan. She's a Democrat. She said she won't be running, then kind of walked back those comments. Give us the rundown here.
Yeah, she was in an interview with the local station and said that she was not going to be one of the many candidates. And then just a few hours later said that she never says never because she didn't expect to run for governor. I'm not sure who on her advisory team got in her ear and told her she doesn't want to take that off the table. But certainly, I think it would be harder. Obviously, she doesn't run for president. She's not going to become president, but also harder to be looked at as a potential vice president or cabinet member if she doesn't run for president.
Good point. All right, John Allen, always great to have you. Thanks.
The Justice Department just opened a criminal investigation into a group that aided E. Jean Carroll when she sued President Trump over sexual abuse allegations back in 2023. She won that case with a jury finding Mr. Trump liable. Well, now this new investigation is focusing on the nonprofit that helped pay Carroll's legal bills and the person behind it. Here's NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez.
The Trump administration's new move against one of the president's political enemies. The Justice Department opening an investigation involving E. Jean Carroll's civil lawsuits over sexual abuse allegations against the president, according to two sources familiar with the matter. But the current probe is not focused on Carroll. Instead, it's on a trust founded by billionaire Reid Hoffman, whose nonprofit helped pay for some of Carroll's legal costs for her lawsuits against the president, the sources tell NBC News. Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, is a major Democratic donor and an outspoken critic of President Trump. In 2023, Carroll was awarded $5 million in damages after a jury found Trump liable for sexually abusing her in a New York department store in the mid-1990s.
This is not about the money. This is about getting my name back.
In 2024, a jury found that Trump had to pay Carroll more than $83 million in damages for repeated defamation.
I don't even know who this woman is.
The president has repeatedly denied Carroll's allegations. A federal appeals court decided that President Trump did not need to pay the money until the Supreme Court weighs in. The new move follows the DOJ's targeting of other Trump critics, including former FBI Director James Comey, New York Attorney General Letitia James, and California Senator Adam Schiff, who's calling it a vile attack on the rule of law and a disgusting insult to victims everywhere.
We could not reach Hoffman for comment. A source familiar with the investigation tells NBC News Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has recused himself because he was President Trump's personal lawyer. Back to you.
All right, Gabe, thank you. Let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos for more on this. Danny, good morning. So the heart of this is a deposition in 2022. E. Jean Carroll was asked if someone was paying for her legal fees. She called it a contingency case, said no one was paying her fees. A year later, Carroll's attorneys informed President Trump's lawyers that her memory was, quote, refreshed, that she secured funding from a nonprofit organization. So what should we know about this? How strong of a case could the DOJ have here if it pursues charges?
It depends what they're looking at. I've heard a lot of people talk about perjury. I feel like perjury might be a bit of a red herring, and here's why. Perjury is very difficult to prove. Now, as it relates to the funding of her lawsuit, that's something that should have been in her present mind. So it may be possible to show that she intentionally gave a false statement while under oath. But if they're looking at perjury for the allegations way back decades ago, there's really no way to prove or disprove those beyond a reasonable doubt now. So if there is a perjury investigation, it's likely to center on that, but also consider potential money laundering, other charges related to the actual funding itself. And that's because perjury is very difficult to prove. It's rarely prosecuted in civil cases like this. So look for some of the other financial crimes to be the focus.
Are you surprised that the Department of Justice is concerning themselves with this, or is this normal?
It's not normal. But here's the thing. The DOJ, by definition, is an agency that prosecutes using its discretion. It can't prosecute everything. It's got lots of resources. Lots of its choices are discretionary. Some things it has to prosecute, counterfeiting, something like that. That's its sole province. Other things, when it comes to things like perjury, mail fraud, those are things that have a very broad definition. And the DOJ has always acted like a selective agency. However, we have seen very recently in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia that something like vindictive prosecution, which is almost never grounds for dismissal, actually may be revived. It may no longer be a dead motion. So proving selective prosecution may be an out if there ever is a prosecution related to this, because there are some factors that would lend themselves to that motion.
There are many layers to this case. We know in 2024, a jury found President Trump had to pay Carroll $83 million in damages for repeated defamation. A federal appeals court recently decided he didn't have to pay pending a decision now from the Supreme Court. So what options does the high court have in figuring out what to do next?
Yeah, just an aside, we've lost our minds with defamation cases. There are people who are permanently disabled, paralyzed here in New York County, where the verdicts are the highest in the country, and they don't get half of $85 million for saying mean things about people on social media. So things have gotten out of control with the theory of liability of defamation, especially in high-profile cases. However, as that case works its way through the appellate process, remember, when you go to an appeals court, you don't get to relitigate the entire case de novo. All those facts at the trial court are etched in stone. But as a matter of law, the appellate courts may look at damages awards like that and send them back down. You know, it sounds strange, but among plaintiffs' attorneys, sometimes too high of a damages award is not something you want, because it could get cut down on appeal.
All right, Danny, good to have you with us. Thank you.
Well, this morning, first responders are coming through the rubble of a Dallas apartment complex after an explosion leveled the building yesterday. Officials say at least 3 people were killed in the blast that happened just before 1 p.m. local time. According to a Dallas fire rescue spokesperson, they were later identified as 2 women and 1 child. 5 other people were hospitalized, one of whom is in critical but stable condition. Officials say they believe a contractor was working at the building and struck a gas line, which then caused an explosion.
In Florida, a rocket from Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin exploded into a massive fireball. It happened during an engine test on the launch pad last night. You can see the explosion here, creating just huge plumes of smoke, turning the night sky orange for a moment. The explosion happened around 9 p.m. Eastern time at Cape Canaveral. Blue Origin said the New Glenn rocket was being tested ahead of a satellite launch planned for next week. The company confirmed all personnel are accounted for. Emergency officials said there was no threat to the public. Bezos said in a statement on X that it's still too early to know the root cause, but that the company will rebuild.
We've got a closer look now at what to expect from this weekend's forecast with your Morning News Now weather.
In Angie's absence, we've got our longtime friend Bill Cairns joining us this morning. Bill, good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you guys, too. And coming off the holiday weekend, a little bit of a short week, and the weekend's already here. Weather's going to cooperate in most cases, but we have a big country, and there's always a few spots it's not going to be so nice. So we're starting off this morning, umbrella weather for everyone in Missouri, especially some heavy rain. Kansas City, you're going to see some downpours, too. St. Louis, you're going to be on the eastern edge of that, so maybe just a little bit of shower activity. Later today, the wettest spot's going to be from Atlanta all the way down towards Jacksonville. Our friends in Savannah, you're going to get a good soaking rain. Now, this is actually good because we've been in a horrific drought in areas of the southeast. So our drought colors, the worst of it is the exceptional. This is that dark maroon. So the areas where we're actually getting the rain today is where we need it here in North Florida, Georgia especially. So most of this will be out of here by the time we get to Sunday. But the first 2 days here, Friday and Saturday, are going to be pretty wet. And if you want to talk about the worst weather in the country this upcoming weekend, unfortunately, it's for all my friends in northern New England. This is an indoor weekend, especially Friday and Saturday. So this storm drops down out of Canada tonight. So on our color table here, notice the green shows your rain. The heavier rain is in the yellows and reds. When we get to see some of the blue, that's where our maps are showing snow. Yes, we are going to see snow in the high elevations of New Hampshire, Vermont, as we go throughout this weekend, possibly Maine. Mount Washington is the highest location in the Northeast, and they are expecting a couple inches of snow on Mount Washington, and it is going to be a cold wind. Wind chills are going to be in the 40s in areas like Boston, Portsmouth to Portland. It's going to be a soaking rain, just about as ugly as it possibly can be for the end of May. But there's always great weather too, guys. So the West, no problems whatsoever. Texas gets a very nice weekend, and by the time we get to Sunday, even the Northeast gets into a good end of the weekend. But if you guys want a road trip, to the top of Mount Washington. We can get you that sticker on the back of your car that says, I drove out to the top.
Just get the chains.
Nothing.
That's right.
Yeah.
A reminder, June 1st is Monday, so,
We'll have pictures of snow, I'm sure, on Monday to show you.
Pretty cool. You seem very excited about it. I can tell you're kind of...
I like unusual things.
See, there you go.
Except for, I do remember well when it snows at your house.
As long as I don't have to shovel it, that's
Yeah,
fine.
there you go.
Yes, I have functioning kids that refuse to shovel. Yes, that's an issue in my household.
Funny, Bill is volunteering to go shovel, actually, up in New England this weekend. So just give him a call. All right, thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
In a bit.
All right, get ready, basketball fans. The Western Conference Final is now heading to a Game 7, the two greatest words in sports. The San Antonio Spurs kept their season alive, dominating the Oklahoma City Thunder at home last night. With their backs against the wall, facing elimination, the Spurs just blew out the reigning champs 118-91.
That was a great game. It's been a series for the ages from the very start. It seems only fitting the two powerhouses face off in a winner-take-all here. The Spurs have the chance to make their first finals appearance since 2014, while the Thunder are looking to keep their hopes of repeating as champions alive. Game 7 will take place in Oklahoma City tomorrow night, with the winner taking on the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals.
All right, much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, sharing their story, a candid look at life inside a controversial immigration center in Texas through the eyes of those who lived there.
Up first, though, developing news, a Russian drone targeting Ukraine strikes an apartment in Romania. We'll be right back.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.